Hey everybody, welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Addiction Unlimited. This podcast is about what it really takes to stay sober. And as long as alcohol is still an option, this cycle never ends. I want you to really sit with that for a second, because most people hear something like that and immediately want to argue with it. They want to say, well, not necessarily. I'm just taking a break. I'm still figuring it out. But if you're honest, if you actually look at your own pattern, you already know this is true. Because how many times have you told yourself you were done? Not cutting back, not being more careful, not just taking a little time off. Done. And then what happens? A few days go by, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, and then something shifts. A stressful day, a celebration, a random Tuesday night, a thought that pops into your head out of nowhere, and suddenly the conversation starts again. Maybe just tonight. Maybe I've got it under control now. Maybe I was overreacting before. And just like that, you're right back in it. Not because you don't want to quit, but because somewhere in the back of your mind, alcohol is still an option. And as long as that option exists, this cycle never actually ends. I hear this language all the time, and I used it myself, right? I'm just taking a break. I'm going to be really good this week. Someday I know I have to quit for real. And listen, I'm not saying that to judge you. I'm saying it because I lived in that exact space for a couple of years where I knew the necessary solution was to stop 100%, but I also couldn't fully commit to stopping, right? I was in this messy middle phase that happens on the way to actually quitting. It's the hardest stage, by the way. It's where people stay stuck for years sometimes, and it's the most miserable part of the whole process. But when you take breaks, it feels productive. It lets you tell yourself you're trying, right? I took 2 breaks on this journey, and I felt like I was doing the right thing, right? Like I was proving to myself that I had some measure of control. My first break was 30 days. And that was early on when I really didn't yet understand that I couldn't control this thing, right? I told myself I would stop for 30 days. I wanted to see if I could do it. And when I did, I felt relieved, like, thank God, now I know I don't need to drink every day. And I told myself, I'll just drink on special occasions. But I really thought that was true. I just didn't know better yet. And of course, it was just a matter of time before I was back to drinking in my normal rhythm. Because I took a break from drinking, but I wasn't actually changing anything. And that's the part people don't see, because on the surface, it looks like you're trying. It looks like you care. It looks like you're making an effort. But underneath that, you're keeping the door open. You're not removing alcohol from your life. You're just stepping away from it temporarily. And those are 2 very different things. Because when you're just stepping away, you're always planning your return. Maybe not consciously, maybe you'd never say it out loud, but it's there. In the language you use, in the way you think about the future, in the way you leave space for it. That's not quitting. That's visiting sobriety. You step in, you stay for a little while, and then you leave. And every time you do that, you reinforce the exact cycle you're trying to break. Here's what that actually does to your brain. It puts you in constant negotiation. You're not at peace. You're not settled. You're not living your life free from this thing. You're managing it. Every situation becomes a decision. Every invitation, every emotion, every random evening, every social event where you're not sure what people will think if you don't drink, every moment of boredom or frustration or sadness, all of it comes with a question attached. Am I drinking or not? And that question never goes away because you never answered it permanently. You left it open. So your brain keeps bringing it back up over and over and over again. You wake up and you think about it. You go through your day and it pops in and out. You plan your evenings around it. You analyze your past decisions about it. You promise yourself things about it. And then you break those promises and then you start over. That's not freedom. That's mental chaos. And what makes it even harder is that from the outside, it looks like you're doing fine. You're functioning. You're showing up. You're handling your responsibilities. So it's easy to convince yourself that this isn't a big enough problem to fully deal with. But internally, you're exhausted because you're having the same conversation in your head every single day. And that's the part I really want you to understand. It's not the quitting that's exhausting. It's the almost quitting. It's living in that space where nothing is fully resolved. You're not all in, but you're not out either. So your brain is constantly working to manage that tension. Should I? Shouldn't I? Is this okay? Is it not? Does this count? Does it not? You're burning energy on something that should have been decided already. And that kind of decision fatigue bleeds into everything, your mood, your confidence, your ability to trust yourself, because every time you go back on your word, you chip away at that trust a little more. And then you wonder why you feel stuck, why you feel frustrated, why you feel like no matter how many times you try, it never sticks. It's not because anything is wrong with you. It's because you're trying to solve a problem without ever fully closing the loop. Okay, real quick, I want to tell you about Cozy Earth because I've been using their stuff and it is genuinely good. Recovery changes how you relate to your body. You start actually noticing how you feel, how you sleep, how you move through your day, whether things around you are adding to your life or just existing. And that's honestly why Cozy Earth clicked for me. Everything they make is built with intention, right? It's not just stuff. It's the kind of thing where you can tell somebody actually thought about it and cared about it. Their comforters are incredibly soft, that cloud-like feel without the bulk. And their essential socks are the kind of thing you put on once and then you wonder why all your other socks feel like sandpaper. They come in 4 styles and they're cushioned just right, which is a small thing, but it makes a huge difference. And I never thought I would care about socks, but I love these things and I'm actually getting ready to order more. 100-night sleep trial, 10-year warranty, like you're not taking any risk trying it. Go to CozyEarth.com, use my code Angela for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey after you order, make sure you let them know you heard about it here. Now, here's the part that might sting a little, but it's also the part that changes everything if you're willing to hear it, right? You haven't actually decided yet. You're still holding on to the idea that maybe, somehow, this could work differently one day. Maybe you'll figure out the right balance. Maybe you'll get to a place where it's not a problem anymore. Maybe you'll learn how to control it. So you don't fully let it go. You leave a little space, a little opening, just in case. And that's the door. That's the thing that keeps pulling you back, because as long as that door exists, your brain is always going to circle back to it, always going to revisit it, always going to test it. And that's why this feels so hard, not because sobriety is hard, but because you're not actually dealing with a drinking problem. You're dealing with a decision problem. You haven't closed the loop. You haven't said, this is done. So your brain keeps bringing it back up for review over and over again, not because you can't do this, but because you haven't actually removed the option. And listen, there's a reason you keep the door open. It's not random, and it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means you're human. Here's exactly what's happening. Permanent feels terrifying. When you say, I'm done forever, something in your brain recoils because forever is a long time, because you don't know what your life looks like without this, because alcohol has been your solution, your celebration, your stress relief, your social glue, your way of softening hard edges for years, maybe decades. And the idea of just not having that anymore, it feels like a loss. So instead of facing that, your brain offers you a compromise. Just take a break. Just focus on right now. You don't need to decide forever, one day at a time, right? And that sounds reasonable. It even sounds healthy. But what it's actually doing quietly underneath is keeping you in the negotiation because you haven't removed alcohol as an option. You've just put it on pause. And paused options don't stay paused forever. This is also why people struggle so much with the idea of forever. They hear it and immediately feel resistance. And that resistance gets interpreted as evidence that they're not ready. But here's what I want you to understand. That resistance isn't evidence that you can't do this. It's evidence that you haven't decided yet. The fear of forever is not a stop sign. It's a sign that alcohol still has a hold on your identity, that part of you still believes you need it. And the only way to move through that is to make the decision anyway. There's a massive difference between trying and deciding. Trying sounds like, I'll see how I do. I'll give it my best shot. I hope it sticks this time. And if you're honest, you've said those things before, probably a lot of times. Deciding sounds completely different. Deciding says, this is done. No debate, no loopholes, no just this once. It's done. And here's the thing people get backwards. They think that clarity shows up after they quit, right? Like they're going to stop drinking and suddenly feel 100% sure and settled and confident. That's not how it works. Clarity comes from the decision, from closing the door, from removing the option so your brain doesn't have to keep revisiting it. That's when things start to settle. That's when the noise starts to quiet down. That's when you can actually move forward instead of circling the same problem over and over again. The decision doesn't come after you feel ready. The decision is what makes you ready. And once that decision is made, now we can actually build something that works. Because staying sober is not about willpower. It's not about waking up every day and hoping you feel strong enough to white knuckle through it. That's an exhausting way to live, and it doesn't hold. It's about structure. It's about support. It's about creating an environment and a set of habits and a community around you that actually holds that decision in place. Because if nothing changes around you, your old patterns will pull you right back. Same routines, same triggers, same ways of coping with stress and boredom and loneliness and frustration. And then you think you failed. But you didn't fail. You just didn't have a system. You don't need more motivation. You don't need to want it more. You've already wanted it badly, more times than you can count. You need something that removes the option and builds a life around the decision you've already made. And I want to tell you something important before I close out this episode. It gets easier. Not because life stops being hard, but because once you've made the real decision, the one you actually mean, you stop fighting yourself. You stop having the same argument in your head every day. You stop waking up and wondering which version of yourself is going to show up. And you start building. And building feels completely different from surviving. So if you're listening to this and you're recognizing yourself in this pattern, the starting over, the taking breaks, the trying again, the hoping this time is different, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. Have I actually decided? Or am I still leaving the door open? Because as long as that door is open, you're going to stay in this cycle. And it's going to keep draining you mentally, emotionally, physically, not because you can't do this, because you absolutely can, but because you're trying to live in two different decisions at the same time. And it doesn't work. It was never going to work. At some point, you have to choose. And when you're ready to make that choice, when you're tired of starting over, tired of the negotiation, tired of the mental noise, I want to be the person you call. Book a call with me, addictionunlimited.com/call. We can build a system around your decision so you're not relying on willpower. You're not white knuckling it alone. And you're not waking up every morning having the same exhausting conversation in your head. You don't have to live like that anymore. And if today's episode hit home, share it. Send it to someone else who needs to hear it. This is what helps people find this show, and this is how we keep doing this work together. So shoot the link to somebody real quick that you think will appreciate it or enjoy it, and let's keep spreading the word. Again, you can book a call with me at addictionunlimited.com/call. That link is always in the show notes. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.